Hi everyone, welcome to Java Techie. In our last session, we talked about how completable future help us writing asynchronous and non-blocking code. We also covered different way to create a completable future and how to use then apply, then accept and then run to attach the callbacks, right? So if you missed that or need a refresher, I recommended checking out part 1 and 2 of the video series. So you can see the part 1 and 2 video in the screen. Even though it was uploaded 2 years back, but still the syntax is same and the concept is same. There is no change. So you can refer it. Okay. So today we are going to take it a step further and discuss how to combine multiple completable features with real-time examples. Okay. All right. So without any further delay, let's get started. So let's reuse the same code base to demonstrate completable future and its methods. If you can remember, we have created one employee.json file and we have defined lot of employee object. Then we have created a class called employee database who will read the JSON file and convert that to the list of employee object. So we are going to play with this employee object to demonstrate combining completable future logic. So first let me create a class. Then let's note down what all methods we are going to discuss here. Let me define the main method. Then let me just add a point. So we are going to discuss how can you combine two dependent future instance. So combine. Then next you will understand how can you combine two independent future. Okay, so just add a point. Then once you understand these two, then how can you combine multiple completable future. So here we are just talking about two dependent tasks and two independent tasks. But if you have more than two, then how can you combine multiple feature? Then the last method we'll discuss about how can you combine multiple future object, but you no need to wait for all to complete. Whoever complete first, you want to give the quick response to the end user. Okay. So you can add something like combine multiple feature, no need to wait for all. So these four are very important concept of completable feature. Being a developer, you should know what is the method and when to use it. Okay. So let's begin with the first one, how to combine two dependent completable feature. Now let's take a use case. You want to fetch employee object. Once you fetch the employee object, then you want to pass that employee to the next feature to get the ratings. So this employee will be one future object or completable future task, and this is also another completable future task. But after getting the employee completable future result, then only you want to pass that employee to get the ratings. Okay, so it means both the completable feature are dependent to each other. So let's see this in action. First let me create a completable feature to fetch the employee object. Then we'll create another completable feature to get the ratings. So first let's create the one. You know how to create completable feature, right? Completable feature dot supply async, and you need to pass the lambda expression. It will expect something to return. Okay, for now let's keep it null. Now what is the task here we want to perform? Get the employee object, specific employee object by any condition. Okay, so from where I will get the employee object? We know we have something called employee database dot fetch all the employee. It will give you the list of employee. Then what I want to do, I want to stream, then I want to filter based on ID. Okay, so let's say emp, the ID I will pass something like this. We'll get it from the employee object or employee JSON. Let's say this one, this ID dot equals emp.getId, then find any. If there is no result, just return the null. So I can directly return this. Now your first task is done. Okay, we got the employee object. Now we want to pass the same employee object to get the rating. So you might need to call a different service to get the ratings, but since we have the employee.json and as part of the employee object we have something called rating, we'll fetch it from here only. Okay, so go to the demo, then I will create another completable feature. Let me copy everything, then we'll just change the logic. So better, let's create two different methods. What I can do, I'll just define here a method public who will return me the completable feature of employee object, then get employee, just return it. Now similarly I will create another method to get the ratings. So I'll just define public, then completable feature of, the rating is of type integer. To get the ratings you need the employee object, correct? So you can do something like return completable feature dot supply async, then you can simply return from the employee dot get rating. Fine, you have created two different methods. So let's remove this logic here. Now first get the employee object. So let me create the object of it. Now I'll get cf dot get employee details. This will give me the employee object. Now once I get the employee object, I want to pass that to the next completable feature, that is get ratings. So here I can use then apply, and then you need to pass the employee object, right? Employee, then just call your method cf dot get ratings, then pass the employee object. You can do like this. Now if I'll define the variable, just observe the result. Okay, so I'll just define then apply. Now if you see here, completable feature of completable feature of integer, which seems a nested completable feature. So if you have two dependent completable feature and you want to run them after getting the result from one, then you should not use then apply. So for that there is a method called thenCompose. Okay, so the method name I'll just note it here. You must need to use thenCompose. So you can even do using then apply, but you will get the nested completable feature. So to avoid that, it's always good to go for appropriate method as per your need. So just change it to thenCompose. You can also change it to the method reference. That is fine. If you play with the lambda, you can do that. Now what it will return you? Now it is returning with the completable feature. And if you observe what it is returning the last completable feature task return type, which we want the rating. Okay, so I'll just name it. So if you want, you can print the result, just throw the exception to the method signature, either handle it or throw it. Now that is fine, but what I want to also validate, I want to validate both the tasks, getting the employee object, getting the ratings info from the employee, both needs to run in a separate thread. Whether it is doing that or not, let's validate that. Sysout get employee details, just print the thread name. Now let's run this. Can you see the output? Get employee details running in a different thread and get ratings running in a different thread. Now after this thread complete the task, we pass the employee object to the next completable feature and we got the output. Okay, so if you have two dependent completable feature, then you must need to use the thenCompose method. Okay, this needs to remember. Now we are good with the first part. Now let's move to the next one. Now let's say you have two independent feature, then how you can combine that? What is the suitable method to use to combine two independent feature? Okay, so let's take some example. We have this employee, right? From the employee, I want my first completable feature to figure out number of male employee count and number of female employee count. And another completable feature, I want him to gather all the email ID for notification. Now if you observe this task, there is no link between these two tasks, right? They both can run independently. I'm just giving the example because I have this employee, but in real time, at the same time, you might need to call to two different API, right? And you don't need to wait for each task to complete. Both are independent tasks. Then how you can combine that using CompletableFuture method? So let's write it down. One task, group employee and counts. Second task, get all the emails. See, I could write some string example. The reason I am explaining this, you will also be brush up your Java 8 skill. Okay, so that is the reason I am just defining some meaningful example to demonstrate each and every method of this completable feature. So let's write the logic for the first task, group the employee and counts. So I'll use the completable feature dot supply async. Then what I need to do, I'll get the list of employee from where? From the employee database. So I'll just use return employee database dot fetch all the employees, then stream it. Okay, then collectors dot grouping by, based on what field we want to group. We want to group based on employee dot gender, then give me the count. So collectors dot counting. Okay, this is the straightforward method. Now what this guy will return? This guy will return you the map of string and long. Map of string is nothing, male or female, and long is nothing, the total count of the employee. Now what is the second task? Get all the emails from employee database. So I'll copy this, then we'll just change the syntax. Again, you can write two different methods which make more sense, but let's add it here to save our time. Fetch all the employee, then stream. We don't need this. We need to map all the email ID only, right? Employee dot email, yeah. Then just collect it as a list. What it will return then? Completable feature of list of string. So I'll just define emails feature. Now if you observe, employee map feature, getting the count and getting all the emails, these two are two different tasks, two independent tasks. I want to combine them. How can I do that? Very simple. So to combine them, you can use any task you can call first. Let's say I want to first get this guy, employee map feature. Just write it here, employee map feature, then combine the result to emails feature. Now after combine the result, what both the feature will return to you, what this employee map feature will return to you, it will give me a employee map. Then what the second feature will return to you, it will give me the list of emails. Now just define the lambda and print the way you want to print the result. For now, let me just print it in simple way, employee map. Just return it. This is not required, right? You can directly use the, since the statement is a single statement, you can remove these braces. Then just define sysout. What this guy will return you? Let me just define the variable. So you can just name it, then combine results. Just get the results. Now just run it. See the output. This is the first task who give me the count of employee based on the gender, and this will give me the list of 1000 email ID. Both are the independent tasks and both will run in a two different thread. So you can add a sysout or log statement to just visualize the thread name. So what do you understand? If you have two independent completable feature and you want to combine them, then just use then combine method. Now let's move to the next one. What if you have multiple independent completable feature and you want to combine them? So let's say you have arbitrary number or some huge number, okay, more than multiple independent feature, okay. If two independent feature, then you can use then combine. But what if you have more than two, or you have arbitrary number of completable feature and you want them to run parallelly, and at the end you need to wait all tasks to complete to do some logic, okay. Either you do some logic or you need the response back from all the API call, all the completable feature which is independent. How you can do that? Can I use the then combine? No. Then combine is only applicable if you have two tasks. But if you have more than two, then you can use the method called all of. N number of tasks you can pass here. But this all of method will wait all tasks to complete. After that only you will get the result. But this all of is not a blocking call. It won't block your main thread. Okay. This will be considered as a asynchronous non-blocking API call. Fine. Now let me give you another example. Let's take a real-time use case where you want to perform multiple API call. One to get the weather details. Then also you want to fetch the news specific APIs. Then you also want to call the stock price APIs. Okay. You want to call these three API simultaneously, and you want your application or your method or your worker thread to wait all the tasks to complete. How you can do that? These each and every API call is independent task. So I can define three completable feature to perform simultaneous work. But how can I combine the result? That is where the interesting part, right? So that is where you can use this all of method. So let me create a new class. You can write it here also, but let's not complex this class. I'll just create a new class called multi API data fetcher or something like that. Now here I'll just write the simple logic, guys. So there is no rocket science. I have just defined fetch weather data, and the logic is same, completable feature supply async, just adding some delay to simulate the response. Okay, so fetch news headlines, again some hard coded value. What is the current JDK version? 23, right? It was released on 17th of September, I guess. Yeah, so let's keep the name 23. Then fetch stock prices. Actually I'm not doing any API call, I'm just returning some hard code string, and I just added some delay on the response. Okay, this is just the 3 completable feature I have written here. Now what we can do, we can access these result from the main class, or better let me write the main method here only. Public static void main. What we'll do, we'll just copy the comment from here. Now first let's create the object of this class, multi API data fetcher. Now just fetch result from the each API. Fetcher dot, what is the first one? Weather data, right? It will give you the string, completable feature of string. So I'll just define, now just call fetcher dot news API, right? Just fetch it. Similarly, fetch for stock price. Now each and every task is independent task here. Now what I want to wait for all these 3 features to complete. So what I can do, I'll just use completable feature dot all of, give the group of completable feature. Can you see here? Give each and every task. So I want to wait for this weather feature, news feature, and stock price feature. So better let me rename it. Okay, so just pass all the feature object. So just add a comment. Now what it will return? The interesting part, it will return you void. Okay, it won't return you anything, it will return the void. So just name it something like all features or all tasks, something like that. The interesting part, it won't return anything, but after completion of all the feature, if you want to play with them, or if you want to manipulate some data over there, or if you want to transform the data, then you can do something like all feature, then run, define the lambda, get the value from the each feature one by one, then just do the data manipulation what you want to achieve. Okay, so simple logic. So I'll just name it process result after all feature are completed, or something like that. Fine. So here you can do weather feature dot join. Then what is the next? News feature dot join. What is the next? Stock price feature dot join. You can call the get method, it will throw the exception. Okay, so that is the reason I am using join, which will do the same work. So just define the variable string weather, define the variable for all, then actually you need to do some logic, but let me just print it. Okay, sys out, I can define something like aggregated data or something like that. Then the last part, and also it is an important part, just join it. It means you are not blocking your main thread, still your main thread are free to doing the job. That is what called asynchronous non-blocking, right? So that's it. Now if I'll run this, let's see the magic. Did you get the aggregated data? Since we have simple hardcode string to return, I am just printing it. But in real time, if you will call the API, you will get the real time data, right? So you can play with those real time data just to perform the other API operation. Okay, so this is just a demo. If I will rerun it again, since I added the delay, it will take some pause and will give you the result. So you can use the all of only if you want to wait all tasks to complete. But what if you have multiple independent feature tasks, but you don't want to wait all to complete? If any single task is completed, then you want to give that return, you want to give that result as soon as possible. Now here I will just define the same name. Combine multiple independent feature more than 2, but you don't want to wait for all tasks to complete. If any single task is completed, then I just want to show that return result to the end user. So you can use the method called any of. So let's copy these two. Okay, better let me create a new class first. Okay, so let's discuss what scenario you need to go for any of. Let's say, I mean, there are n number of use case, guys. If you are working on a project, you might need to call two different API to get the result, but you no need to wait for both result to come. If anything is coming fast, you want to return it back. The best example in retail, getting the location from two different API. Let's say X API and Y API. Whoever return the result first, whether it is X or Y, I want to give that result back to end user so that they won't block. Okay, or you can take another example. Let's say you want to fetch the stock market price. There are n number of API, right? So stock price, there is API called X, there is API called Y, there is API called Z, but you don't care who is giving the result to you. You are simultaneously calling three different API to just get the quick response. So while calling, there might be a chance Y is not responding to you. So you can get the result from X and Z, but we never know whose result will come first, whether it is X or Z. So to simulate that, we will forcefully add some delay or pause, then we will see how it is working. Okay, hope you understand the main difference of all of and any of. All of will wait all tasks to complete. Any if you no need to wait for all tasks to complete. Any single task is completed, you will get the result. Okay, so the method name looks same, but there are a huge difference while using it. So you need to understand the logic behind it. Fine. So let me create some class called stock price data fetcher or something like that. Then I'll just add the simple logic here as well. Just define the main method and then add few completable future tasks to fetch the stock price from different API. So I'm not more aware about the stock kind of thing, so I have just defined API 1 and API 2. Fine. So in real time, you need to write actual business to call their API. So that's fine, it's just a demo. Okay, I just want to convince you to know better understanding about all of and any of use case. That is what I am trying to convince. So fine. So we have defined two different API to fetch the stock price, and forcefully we added some delay. So first completable feature will delay for 2 seconds. Second completable feature will delay for 3 seconds. Then if you run it, whose response you will get? That is the basic, right? You will get from here, because it will wait for 2 seconds, but this guy will wait for 3 seconds. So definitely you will get the response from here. That is fine. Now what I can do, create the object of this class stock price data fetcher. Now specify the stock symbol, whose stock you want to know. So I'll just define something like string stock symbol. I want to check for Apple. Okay, or you can give any stock name. So it will be something like Apple Inc. It's fine, man, it's just a demo, so added something. Okay, don't focus on that. Now what you can do, you have two tasks to fetch the stock price, this one and this one. First call them fetcher dot from API 1, give the stock symbol. Now what it will return you? Similarly, I will also call fetcher dot from API 2, pass the stock symbol, and this will also return the same. I will just name it API 2. So just add a note for better understanding. Fetch stock price from both the API. Now what is the next? You got the response. I mean, you are invoking two different completable feature, which is independent completable feature, but you don't want both the tasks to complete, right? So what you can do, you can simply do completable feature dot any of task is completed out of API 1 result. This is 2, right? API 1. You can change, it's fine, you can keep any order. API 2 results. Out of these two feature, if anyone is completed, give me the result immediately. So any of, okay, so we can just define some messages here. Use any of to wait for any of the feature to complete. Now once you got the result from any of the feature, let's rename it. Yeah, once you get the result from any of the feature, you can just process the result. Okay, so simply you can write any of results, then accept what value you will get. You will get price, right? Stock price, because both needs to be same return type. Both tasks need to return the same kind of data, then only you can do or you can process that, right? So here you can simply print that sys out then again free your main thread, don't block that. Fine. Now let's run it. So definitely we'll get the result $150. Then we'll change the value. Yeah, we are getting this, right? Now let's say this guy will wait for only 1 second, but this guy will wait for, this API will wait for 2 seconds. Now if I'll run it, I supposed to get the result from here. Let's validate that. Correct. Okay, so forcefully we are simulating the delay here to just know the things is working as expected. So great, we completed all the methods, required methods to combine completable feature. So dependent and independent, then multiple completable feature with independent task, and then waiting for all tasks to complete, and then also we discussed the last method, which is all of, which will return the result if a single task is also completed. Okay, so these methods are really helpful while working on your real-time project if you are using multi-threading completable feature to execute parallel tasks. So I hope you got the clear picture about it. Do let me know in a comment section if you guys have any doubts. Okay,
That's all about this particular video, guys. Thanks for watching this video. Meet you soon with a new concept.